Welcome back to the news at 10. It's been a busy day for doctors, optometrists, lab scientists and other medical personnel from Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company SNEPCO in Lagos today. SNEPCO, in conjunction with the National Petroleum Investment Management Services, provided medical tests and treatment for hundreds in the Agege community in the yearly Health in Motion drive.
Some children, 20 each from 5 different schools in Agege local government area, have a day off from school and eagerly await the flag off of Health in Motion, a corporate social responsibility taken up by Shell Nigeria Exploration and Production Company, as well as NAPIMS, a subsidiary of NNPC. They are not the only ones. Other members of the public, representatives of the state and Agege local government area are also present.
To all these people we are in present.
Soon enough, the ceremony starts.
I want us not to consider this as just a one-off initiative. It should be a continuous effort, like the organizers have started this program, Health in Motion.
While the state health insurance plan is in the final stages before the launching, we still continue to count on organizations like NNPC and SNEPCO.
This outreach is not just about free medical screening, but is much more about creating awareness of health issues.
Dr. Claudiana Sanwo-Olu flags off Health in Motion and starts the administration of anti-worm medication to the school children. Each school represented also gets a first aid box, while pregnant women are given long-lasting insecticide-treated nets. The dignitaries are conducted around the grounds where medical personnel are already hard at work in the Cancer Screening Center, the labs and the Vital Signs Department. Drugs and commodities are available for those who need them.
In the past, when we were fabricating steel for one of our projects, the Bonga projects, Agege was the base of the steel fabrication yard, and so we decided to come and give back.
SNEPCO and NNPC have conducted the Health in Motion drive in the Niger Delta since 2005 and have operated in Lagos since last year.
Producers, suppliers and other experts in the upstream gas production are meeting in Lagos to find solutions to the dwindling supply of gas to power electricity plants across the country. The experts also discussed the issue of funding for the sector and the need for consumers to pay commensurate amounts for electricity consumption. Our energy correspondent Olu Phillips reports.
It's an all too familiar concern and has even generated several buzzwords suggesting that gas is a major setback to power supply. But it also appears the industry practitioners ain't giving up just yet in finding a workable solution. So this forum is an attempt at tackling the problem. Unfortunately, the gas to power business operates in a value chain starting with the gas producer to the supplier, the generation company, all through to the consumer at home who needs to pay his bill before the gas supplier can be paid. This order is currently heavily challenged.
It is not a viable business if we continue this madness. There has to be discipline, there has to be sanctity of agreement, there has to be enforcement of law that consumers of power must pay for the power they're consuming.
The organizers dug deep for resource persons. They brought in Nigeria's former Minister of Power, who in history brought Nigeria's generation for the first time to 4,500 megawatts under the old order. He provided some solutions.
We recognize that the business of power is something that government has to be sensitive about. But then we have to look at Africa. Nigeria pays low value in comparison to other parts of Africa in terms of power. We have to say, do we want power or do we want darkness? I say the cost of darkness is infinite. The cost of power is finite. And we should have the will to do something about cost reflective tariff. Otherwise, nobody is coming here to invest. And it's not just a talk.
Away from the conference, the Minister of Power, Works and Housing is advocating that DisCos improved their collection across a larger scale of users rather than the lenient thinking that tariff increase will solve all the problems.
These were some of the things that should have been done pre-privatization. Every DisCo should know all of its customers. So, as I said, I'm not dismissing the argument that the tariff should go up. But there's the other side of the coin, is that are all of the people who are consuming the service paying for it? What if the consumer base just doubled to 12 million? Which is really possible, given the numbers we have seen in terms of even a disputed census then in 2006. So it's possible that we can get 12 million, 6 more million people to pay the same tariff. You know what that will do? It will increase the collection enormously.
Time and time again, we are told we have to pay more to generate improved power. Technically and logically, though, it does cost much more to self-generate. Grid power is still it, but how professionals and practitioners will convince already disgruntled consumers to pay more will be Herculean. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
As part of efforts to curb vehicular crime in Nigeria, the Association of Motor Dealers of Nigeria has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Nigeria Police. At a formal event held here in Lagos, both parties agreed to use a new platform called the Police Biometric Central Motor Registry to track the status of cars to be sold by dealers.
Curbing the rate of car theft and the losses incurred by some motor dealers over stolen vehicles is why this meeting is holding. Parties here say they are latching onto a new platform called the Police BCMR.
This will even reduce the amount of money and resources wasted on trying to get stolen vehicles. Our members will be able to conduct their business in a very conducive atmosphere without any fear that whatever is brought to them is stolen.
This is a very wonderful initiative by the Inspector General of Police to ensure the integration of AMDOM system with the Police BCMR to enable us track stolen vehicle and to make it easy for members of the public to buy a vehicle without trouble.
This platform is a digital means of attaching automobile owners' biometrics and personal data to their vehicles for authentication and detection purposes, and this comes with information stored on a smart card.
It's a secured card, and it's a card that you can even verify. Police knows that the job of security has gone beyond guns and cudgels. That it is now high tech. They are now embracing technology, which is making it better now.
Other Police BCMR also provides for a large pool of vehicle documents in a database for police operational use. Cementing this relationship between car dealers and the police requires putting pen to paper. With the commitment shown by parties towards this project, the Association of Motor Dealers of Nigeria are hopeful that this partnership will translate into better working relationship between their members and the police force.
Let's take a look at some business news now. Here's Anne Waudu.
Thanks a lot, Ijoma, and welcome to Business News. The Central Bank of Nigeria has unveiled plans to mop up 200.32 billion naira from the Nigerian banking system through a special open market operation at the rate of 16% per annum. The decision was reached at a meeting of the Bankers Committee in Lagos today. Well, according to the CBN, the mop-up plan is a reaction to the maturity of OMO bills worth 206 billion naira, and 16% rate per annum was adopted as a result of declining inflation. Some oil and gas experts have identified loopholes in the newly passed Petroleum Industry Governance Bill by the National Assembly. At a meeting organized by PricewaterhouseCoopers, experts say that the proposed structure of the National Petroleum Company will not comply with certain acts of the federal government.
That the issues that have been debated over the years, there's an attempt to resolve them. So obviously everybody agrees that there are issues, which is a step in the right direction. Now, is it really, do we have everything we need in there? From a legal perspective, I'll start even with maybe commercial projects. Now, it's laudable that the NPC does not have to really comply with the Fiscal Responsibility Act and the Public Procurement Act. I mean, for our project, a number of times you need to push, you need to procure services, you need to borrow, and those bottlenecks are there, and you really cannot make progress.
The federal government has announced plans to recruit 7,500 graduates through its NPower scheme. This is to help sensitize Nigerians on tax payment. Addressing newsmen in Abuja, the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, says the initiative is expected to increase the number of taxpayers, thereby increasing the nation's revenue by 35%. She says tax officers will be trained and deployed to states across the country.
Under the NPower scheme, which is the social intervention program, we'll be recruiting what we're calling community tax liaison officers. The target is to have 7,500 of them. We're going to train them. They'll first come for intensive training up here in Abuja, 1 week of intensive training, and then there'll be follow-up training. They'll then be deployed into their communities, and their task is to increase tax awareness, to enroll more citizens onto the tax database, to do outreach, to ensure that from school to university to college, people understand the tax system, to move into our churches and our mosques and our markets and let people know what are their obligations under the tax system. And it's because a very good tax system works when a lot of people pay. If everybody pays a little, it comes to a lot. And our tax system is progressive, which means that those who earn less should pay less, those who earn more should pay more.
Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, and it's another round of recovery for domestic stock markets. Let's join Emana Amawe for the details of today's transactions.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The positive sentiment enters the second session this week at the Nigerian Stock Exchange as Thursday's transaction closed upbeat by 0.59%, while market capitalization increased by 69 billion naira. This follows the rally recorded by 33 gainers, led in significant percentage value by May and Baker, Skybank and Unilever. On the losers table, 24 stocks saw price retractions, with Champion Breweries, Honeywell Flour Mills and Jais Bank also following suit in that category. In contrast to Wednesday's session, today's overall volume turnover was lower at 573.6 million shares sold in 6,584 transactions for over 7.85 billion naira. The top three most actively traded stocks for the day are Access Bank, Zenith Bank and FBN Holdings. And that's it on the Stock Market Report. I'm Emana Amawe.
Thanks a lot, Emana. Well, world markets are still reacting to U.S. Federal Reserve's second rate hike in 2017. But let's take a look at their closing figures.